Hello again, beloved. My name is Jessica. I create encouraging and informative content here on YouTube that glorifies God and helps others in one manner or another. Today, my instruction was to share a little bit um, more about my previous experience with um, an employment scam that I recently dealt with, and I've never dealt with that before, so I know I can't be the only one. And I was a little bit thrown because it looked like a legit opportunity. Um, so without further ado, first I received an email, and it looked like a legit email, like an employment email. It had all the criteria about employment and the data entry program or position that I thought I applied for, because I had applied for different data entry programs or positions with multiple different websites. So I thought that they were just responding. But it was not one of the sites that I had submitted the information on, so that was a little bit of a suspicion for me. But I didn't think anything of it, honestly. The email that it came from was hrtods@gmail.com. First of all, if it's a Gmail account, Hotmail account, or anything like that, it's an automatic red flag. But since I had never dealt with that before, I wasn't aware. It has to be from a company website in order for that to be legit. So I know that now. Um, and it also provided some information about Microsoft Teams. It was an interview through Microsoft Teams, which I've dealt with that before, so it didn't really dawn on me that could be an issue as well. But it provided a link, and then it said that I would be speaking to Sarah Cooper Miller about a position with Olympic Controls Incorporated. So I went on the Teams, Microsoft Teams, and I completed the interview. They asked me all your average questions, like what are my, my employment history, my qualifications, my strengths and weaknesses, all the things that you would typically get through an interview. So I went through the entire interview with them. They provided a website, olympiccontrols.com, but there was no incorporated in that. And then when you click on the link at the very top, it actually had the incorporated part, which also threw me because I expected that to be legit. And during the interview, they also asked me like what bank I go with, or what bank you know, I work with or have an account with. And something told me not to give them like that information. So what I did was give them my Wisely account, because I have a Wisely card from my previous employer, and nothing was set up with them. It was just a prepaid card, but they do have a like account that you can sign up for direct deposit and use them as a bank. So I just gave them like that information because I knew you weren't going to get very far with a prepaid card, just in case, covering myself. Um, but they did ask what bank I was with, so I provided some information. And then they advised me that I would be receiving my equipment in the mail. And then they said something about a check coming in for software, which I thought, well, if the equipment comes in, because the equipment can be up to $2,000 usually. So I thought, well, if the equipment comes in the mail, the laptop and everything, then, it may be legit if I just have to purchase the software. And they kept up with me like for a couple of days. They wanted me to check in the mornings for any updates on the position or policies or anything like that. And then I got this bad feeling, which I call that the Holy Spirit guiding me. and something told me, you keep an eye out on this one. So I still checked in and everything. And it was like the next day after I checked in for like the third time, um, that I received a check in the mail. Not equipment, just a check. And the check was for $4,000. So I immediately knew something was wrong. Like, nobody just sends you $4,000 and trusts you to buy the equipment. So at that point, I contacted them and said, well, when is the equipment coming in? Because I won't be able to cash the check until the equipment comes in. I knew there was something wrong, so I just played along for a little bit. And then they informed me, oh no, you have to cash the check to get me the equipment. And I said, no, wait a minute, that's not what you said during the interview. You told me that I would be receiving an Apple laptop and all kinds of stuff during the interview, and then they changed their story. So I said, I don't think so. This is not right. And I informed them of the Better Business Bureau, because I had gone previously. As soon as I got that check, I knew something was wrong, so I started researching. And I went on the Better Business Bureau website, and they have a scam tracker. And you can use the phone number, you can use the company name, the email, anything like that to check up to see if there's any scams related to this particular company or website, what have you. So that's what I did, and it was over 4,000 reports, different kinds of scams, all using this company's name. So I immediately informed them, you know what, I don't trust you guys, because I've seen the reports on you, and they were like, oh, don't worry, we're aware of the situation, it's not true, this, that, and the other. So they just came up with this, a whole bunch of stuff. And they told me to, provide the check number and all of that. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to cash this check. And they tried to talk me into it. Mind you, this is all on Messenger. So there was no face-to-face interview. There was no over-the-phone interview. There was just an email and then a Messenger, Microsoft Teams, excuse me. And this was all through Microsoft Teams. So it was all through that one, and it was just back and forth like messaging. And then they asked me to fill out a W-4 form and send 2 forms of ID and fill out some employment information for the company, all of that through PDF. So you fill it out and send it back, and then they send you some check, right? Well, I didn't provide all my information. I did provide some, which honestly I wish I hadn't. But looking back, I'm like, it's fine, because they won't be able to use my name for anything. I mean, honestly, I made sure of that. But in general, it was all through Microsoft Teams that they did this, other than the email. And then they used the email to send back the information as document desk at olympiccontrolsincorporated.com. So that did seem legit. I just didn't realize at the time that it was a scam. So just documenting that as well for the recording. And in the end, I took the check, I reported it to the Better Business Bureau, and then I informed the employer that I would, A, not be cashing the check at all, B, I no longer trust this company or the interviewer, because I knew it was a scam at that point. And the moment that I mentioned that I was going to report it to the police, they no longer contacted, so they didn't respond. But they're still active. So this was like 2 weeks ago that this happened, and I went back on Microsoft Teams just yesterday to do something else, and I noticed that they are still active as Sarah Cooper Miller. And there's a picture of a woman who's like dressed in a suit. She looks legit. You'd never think anything of it. But when you start speaking to the people, they start off really professional until you start questioning them. And, let them know that you know something's wrong, and then they start saying things like, oh, don't worry about it, which they said that like 5 or 6 times. Don't worry, this is nothing, I wouldn't be worried, it's okay, which is pretty unprofessional, because a typical company, if you don't trust them, they're just like, okay, you don't trust us, we're on to the next contestant. But this company, the way that they tried to manipulate me into getting the check cashed and everything, I knew that it had to be a scam. Um, so I just wanted to share that part, because that was my instruction from God today. He wanted me to elaborate on the experience I had, because I didn't give much information in the previous video. I did, speak on it to let you guys know that there was a situation with a scam. But just to protect other people from going through what I went through, and to help you recognize employment scams, because they're out there, they're everywhere, and majority of them are work from home positions, because a lot of people are still working from home. And for this one was a data entry program, or position. I don't know why I keep saying program, but it's a data entry position. And if you go on the Better Business Bureau website and look up their scam tracker and type in the company name, they're everywhere. These reports are about 4,000 so far and climbing. And they're not just doing this for like data entry positions. They're doing this for many different kinds of positions, and even like they'll call and pretend to be Amazon. They'll call and pretend to be other companies, and none of them are legit. So if you hear the name Olympic Controls Incorporated, or if you've applied and someone from that particular company responds to you, I've even submitted a inquiry on that website, and I haven't heard anything back since. So I think it was a made up website to begin with. Although it did look legit, because the company contracts that they have on the website are like Honeywell products and many different companies that I'm very familiar with. So I do encourage you to really check into employment options before you start providing your personal information. If you do get a contact back through email, always check the return address. So if it's a Gmail account, Hotmail account, MSN, anything like that, that's not legit. It has to be from a company or the boarding website that you applied in, like Indeed.com, which is one of my absolute favorites. But I would definitely encourage to keep that in mind, to avoid scams, of course, because I don't know what they're going to do with your information. They won't find mine useful, but they could use yours if you, have really good credit or what have you. But anyway, do check your emails on that, the return addresses. Be careful when it comes to interviews. If they want to do a interview on Microsoft Teams, that would be an alert for me. And some over the phone interviews can also be a scam, so I would keep that in mind. I'm not sure about the face-to-face, because that's never happened to me either, so I do keep an eye on that regardless. And just make sure that you don't provide certain information unless you're 100% sure that this is a legit company, because I had never even heard of that company. But since it was based out, it said like, I think it said Britain, and it was like a company that was migrating over to the United States from the UK. So I just thought they were, expanding their horizons, but that was not the case at all. So I would keep that in mind. And if you have any questions or concerns about that, I can elaborate even further if you need be. Or if you have any other information regarding the employment scams, because I'm still diving into this stuff a little deeper, just to make sure to protect myself and help protect others as much as possible, for those who are currently working from home or are seeking to work from home. Anyway, I do hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.